Hello, everyone. This is your host, Dr. Tomi Mitchell from the Mental Health and Wellness Show. Today, I have a pleasure of introducing a repeat guest. His name is Dr. Ardeshir Mehran. He is distinguished psychologist, trauma therapist, behavior researcher, transformative leader, and leadership coach. He earned his PhD and Master of Education from Columbia University in Counseling, Organization, and Research Psychology. With advanced training in psychoanalysis, group
Yes.
therapy, and team dynamics, Dr. Moran has dedicated over 3 decades to revitalizing organizational cultures, enhancing employee and customer engagement, and mentoring emerging leaders. He is the author of the transformative book, You Are Not Depressed, You Are Unfinished, which challenges conventional views on depression and offers innovative approaches to mental health. With no further ado, Doc, welcome back to the show.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Mitchell. Great to see you on at least today we are recording is the Sunday morning.
Yes.
On the West Coast, it's a rainy day in California. I always take rain, and it's a beautiful day. So honored to see you and loved our first recording, I think about a year ago. And
Yes,
I
just
remember
over a
you
year
said I
ago.
would call you back. This
Yes,
is great. Honor.
yeah,
Good to see you.
good. It's great to see you. So, has anything new changed in your world since the last time we spoke?
Um, so when we spoke, I was a corporate executive, a psychologist working in the corporate environment, and I focused on high achieving professionals, all the way to CEOs, people who are on the fast track to get somewhere. They want to get a lot of things done. And I will talk about the data too. We know those individuals, they are crushing it.
Hmm.
And yet from inside, they are crashing.
Yes.
Anxiety, the three things we see in high achievers, anxiety, depression, and ADHD. And we think they are triples. They go hand in hand.
Yes.
People may come to us for anxiety, but they're actually struggling with depression and anxiety, the ADHD as well. So I've been helping individuals to see actually these are very interrelated. They are not three categories. So helping them and resolve it quickly. What is changed? High achieving parents start to call me. This
Hmm.
caught me by surprise. So parents of those professionals that I did therapy with, or they read my book, or they saw podcasts such as yours, they called me and said, my teenager, all the way to the early, like a junior in college, they are dealing with anxiety, panic attack. Going to class is excruciating hard for them. Their grades are good,
Hmm.
but they are struggling. Some of them are already on medication, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, anorexic, binge drinking, or sleeping, or a lot with different partners. And they came to me and says, my child is out of balance.
Yes.
And your work help with them. And that's what I love to share with you, that right away they categorize them as emotionally not feeling well. They need a therapist.
Hmm.
What I brought for the children, they reflect the culture of the family.
Yeah.
And what they show is the nature of relationship of mom and dad or the partners and other children. Your other children probably they are not doing well. They're just masking it. They're getting
Hmm.
by.
You'll be their turn soon. You'll see the outward manifestation
Exactly,
soon.
exactly. So what I shared with them, you are calling me because you're outsourcing parenting. That go help fix my kid so he or she can do better.
Yeah.
Parenting start with it. Instead of that, let me help you and your partner to bring a different level of experience. So my business has taken off, to be honest, the Tammy, I had no idea. Parents tell parents, and then so I'm sorry I pronounced your name. Tammy is Tomi,
Yeah, Tom,
but,
it's all
but,
good.
but no. So tell me that.
Yeah.
So what it teaches me to here to be very honest with you, this is my work because what I always assume that when you help a leader become better emotionally, they have downstream impact on their team, on their
Yes.
organization, their revenue. When you help a parent and their family, you help generation of unborn children
Oh, yes.
and more. In fact, in the upcoming, starting in March and April, schools have called me to come and do sessions for parents in the room. And so I'm going double downing, focusing on parenting and how do you create a culture of health, connection, and love in the family and show them how you do that.
I love this because that is really the heart of what I believe in and what I do. Because at the end of
Yeah,
the day, you need the strong parents to come
yeah,
together who are
yeah.
strong within themselves to raise healthy children. When the
That's right.
parents have this chaos within themselves or how they interact with each other, it impacts the children. So
That's right.
rarely, it doesn't make any sense just to focus on the child and its outward symptoms, manifestations. You gotta look at
That's
the
right.
root cause. And the root cause for most problems in society is us.
Children reflect us.
Yes.
Yes, you know, what is that statement about therapists that you shall thou fix yourself? Start with
Yes.
you.
It
Don't
starts with
outsource.
you. So
Don't outsource.
yes, and so parents, and I'm a parent too. It's like when our kids start acting up, acting out, instead of pointing outwards at the school, at this, at
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
the video games, look within. Have
Yes,
honest
that's right. That's
dialogue.
right.
Oh, I wish more people would do this. But the joy in my practice being a coach and physician, I get to see parents, parents of adult children, and we're able to ask um those questions that may be uncomfortable but highly
Yeah,
necessary or powerful. Those, the
that's right.
elephant in the room, right?
That's
What's
right.
the underlying issues? Because it's rarely in isolation. And when you peel back the layers, you're right, it's
That's right.
relationships.
It's relationship.
You,
That's
you
right.
know,
That's right.
yeah,
That's and
it's
then that's what and what I share is the my wife and I were talking. We have the 23-year-old son just and his first job works in San Francisco. That when you're having your baby, there are wonderful books that what to expect when you're expecting. They are good in terms of, like is the pregnancy, when the child is born, how the basic thing.
they
In
miss the most important thing. What happens to your relationship?
relationship, and suddenly everything
Yes.
stops. Suddenly everything stops. You think that the kid is eating, the diaper rash is going away, the kid's okay. No. And let's not blame it on parents that there is some fundamental of human being. The science is been there. The science is emerging, and I'm bringing it to the world. But nobody's bringing it to parent. It just, in fact, I go to library and I go to Amazon about book of parenting. It is a mess. It's everything out there and nothing organized. That when you're parents, there are 10 steps to do. There are things in every family needs to have, what you pay attention to. Children grow up, adults grow up in a very predictable patterns. If you know that, you can pay attention to be present. So part of that is science been sitting in the left side of the world, parenting side on the right side of the world. Let's bring them together and make things make sense. That's what you're doing. That's your scientist. That's what's your work.
Yes, bring it together. Oh my goodness. I love where this conversation is going. This is so organic. This is not what I expected, but honestly, it's so true. I get it. Like, by the way, you're not the only one doing this. I'm doing it too, just different way. It's funny how we're, like I said, that's why you're here a second time, because we have so many synergies. Like there's alignment. When I have my
Yes.
new parents in there and yeah, I talk about the prenatal, the postpartum changes, etc. This is actually the most important conversation. It's not in that book that I give them what to expect.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's about your relationship. It's about making sure you're healthy as individually,
That's
mentally,
right.
psychologically. That is key because if you're strong and healthy together, you're gonna
Yeah.
raise an amazing child. Like that is, they're like shocked, but they're also happy because no one ever talks
Yeah.
about it, like you said.
That's right.
But
That's
it's
right.
so true. I
That's
don't
right.
know one person who is not quote unquote clinically depressed or clinically anxious
That's
or
right. That's right.
clinically
That's right.
ADHD that doesn't have, if you peel back the layers, some degree of dysfunction in their original home.
Absolutely
Right?
right. That's right.
Yes.
It goes in the 4 to 6 months of life. And then
Yes.
there's a picture that I have, actually it's on my desk right there. It's a picture of my son when he was 7 years old. He was getting trouble in school. He was misbehaving. So
Mm,
principal called us and said, your son needs to see a school psychologist. So
mm,
I'm a psychologist myself. So he was acting out. And we went to see a school psychologist. My son's name is David. And the psychologist asked David, how is dad at home? How is mom at home? So we went to see, after a second session, psychologist said, I want to meet with the parents by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So the psychologist said, I asked your son, how does he see you at home? And David told the psychologist, my dad is sad and quiet at home.
Yes.
That was the sign of depression.
Yes.
That's how my dad was, how my grandpa was, that's how my mom
Mm-hmm.
was. So I
Mm-hmm.
was role modeling. This goes to generational parenting. I
Mm-hmm.
was role modeling. If raise my kid the way my mom and dad did, it's good to go. He was acting out. I realized I was not present with my son. I was holding him. We go to park, play soccer, baseball, but I wasn't present with him. I was
Yes.
doing things. That was one of the hardest, the sad and quiet dad. And this happened to spring of 2010, and which
Mm.
I accelerated right in my book that parenting is not rocket science.
Mm-mm.
It's about basic human connection. What he wanted, a dad that is
Yes.
present,
Yes.
wasn't.
Yes. And we
And
talked
that
about human
became,
connection, emotions are.
that's what it is. He just wanted.
Yeah.
And then I learned as a 10-year-old, he wants me to connect with him just around the sport, around his toys, around the
Yes.
figure, be with him and just give my
Mm.
time, my attention. It was
Mm.
painful for me, but it was a wake-up call that I'm called to duty, and duty is right now.
Yes, that is so true. You just want your parent to be present and
Yes,
non-judgmental and just get on your level and play and engage with you. That builds that
yes,
trust.
that's
And
right.
so that when you're older and going through things, it's a lot easier to come and talk to them versus feeling like they're this cold statue that you can only be perfect. So
That's
anything
right.
that's imperfect, you hide away. But being present and to all the busy people,
Yeah,
and especially as professionals who maybe are juggling multiple things in our lives, it's important to be present. That's why it's called present. It's a gift.
that's
It's
right.
a
That's
moment
right.
with our
That's right.
children at any
That's
age of
right.
their any stage.
That's right.
Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely right. That's right. Beautiful.
Wow, I love this. We're gonna have to have a part three. I'll talk about it more.
I love it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get some parents up in here, some live question and
Yeah,
answer.
that's right.
Yeah, like because in my medical practice, I have a lot of like new immigrants, right? And parents
Yeah,
that are balancing so many different things, like moving to a new country, culture expectations, new culture, trying to work, trying to do all these things, add religion and all these expectations. But often what happens is that the child who's in that environment is kind of torn,
yeah,
right? And I
yeah,
often see
yeah.
a disconnect, a huge disconnect. And I can relate to
Yes.
that because that was my life. There was a huge
Yeah, yeah,
disconnect. And that
yeah,
disconnect carries one throughout their entire life. But
yeah,
if we
yeah,
can equip all parents with those tools, those things that they need to go maybe go and look at. If they can't reach
yeah,
you as a,
yeah,
as a psychologist, maybe they can find somebody who can
yeah.
talk real. But let me be honest with you, Doc. I find most psychologists, most therapists don't talk about the root. That's just
They don't.
me from my
No, no, that
experience.
that absolutely, you're absolutely right. Let me give you a case in point. So I live in a residential, like middle class family in Northern California, south of San Francisco. So there are a lot of families here.
Hmm.
So gradually, neighbors have started to get know me through my. Some of them read my books. Some of them like my books. Some of them says we don't want a shrink city neighborhood. So anyhow, like I'm known here. About 3 months ago, a mother wrote me because I had met my wife, and her daughter had the ADHD
Hmm.
and wanted help. Like apparently she was misbehaving, distracting in school.
Hmm.
So she reached out to me, and we had a conversation. I told her that ADHD, there's a lot of research around that, and there's what psychologists do or psychiatrists. One of the first step of the treatment is medication.
Hmm.
It works as because there's underlying anxiety. But I
Hmm.
shared ADHD is not what happened to your brain. That's what they're trying to bring brain chemistry.
Yes.
ADHD, there's strong longitudinal research that
Yes.
shows ADHD goes to the root of unfinished childhood bond and attachment from
Yes.
all the women. So ADHD brain is a brain that's continuously scanning the environment for connection, for safety,
Mm.
for predictability, for patterns that make sense. So is a brain that never settles. The people with ADHD, they're always like popcorn. They cannot sleep. In the business world, they crush it. They are very effective. They go, go, go type A. But it come is a machine that never stops. So I shared this with this mother. I said the treatment is a way to help reset the nervous system. And I describe what nervous system is about, bringing calmness. Calmness is
Mm,
not how many affirmation you do, is in your gut, is in your breathing, is the calmness you
mm,
bring. And when you do that, brain calms down. And I share the science. Brain follows the body, what we know from neurology research coming up and from the trauma centers. Mother loved it. She talked to her husband. Husband said, "Let's go get a second opinion from a doctor, clinician in our area who
mm,
specialized ADHD." And the doctor said, "No, no, no. What Dr. Mehran said, I don't believe
mm-hmm,
in it. We need
mm-hmm,
the traditional medication,
mm-hmm.
multiple medication, and the treatment sessions, and so on." So there is a chasm even in the field of psychotherapy.
Yes, huge.
People who come, yes,
Mm.
huge, and actually is getting political.
Oh, yes.
That because it involves insurance and payments.
Mhm,
So there are that psychologists, clinicians who follow American Psychiatric Association, that they set the norm. That
mm-hmm.
any diagnosis has a code, has a
Yes,
treatment, has a medication, has a payment system.
yes.
There's the other branch that is coming up that is started actually late 60s, 70s. It came from, it's interesting enough, from the Veteran Affairs military hospitals,
Yes.
working with the soldiers who were not coming back and traditional medicine and medications were not working. That
Working.
was a
Yes.
study of trauma, how
Mm-hmm.
body responds, how we experience emotions. And this other branch is getting better results, faster results, lasting results, and people actually fully heal.
Mm-hmm.
So, so many of my clients with ADHD, they get good results and we don't need long-term therapy.
Yes.
But a lot of psychologists, I don't have data that they still believe in traditional medication first, weekly sessions for a long time. But the trend is shifting because we're getting better results. And to what you mentioned, we can explain things. Why is this happening? It's not just your brain haywire.
No,
We
it's
can get better
not.
results. We can explain things. There's a rational cause and effect. We can say, this is why you have ADHD, you have why anxiety. What do they all mean?
Exactly. Exactly. Otherwise, twins who are separated at birth and go to different families, why is
Yeah,
that one is like rock star, emotionally stable, balanced, and the
yeah,
other
yeah,
one
yeah,
is in the corner of the street, not there?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
environment has a
That's right. That's
huge
right. That's right.
play. Healthy parents, caregivers, the village to support
That's right.
growth is so critical. I'm on your bandwagon. When I was in medical school in residency, they gave us the Kool-Aid where it's like, oh, it's a biological, it's a biochemical, blah, blah, blah. Depression is this, serotonin, this, dopamine.
Yeah,
But then real life and practice, that's not the real picture.
that's
That
right.
misses a huge opportunity of transforming not just the life of the individual, but their family.
That's right. That's right.
Societal benefit if we
That's right.
actually
Exactly.
dealt with the root, because that person goes to their home a better person, to their workplace a better person, and when they have children,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
better parents,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Another thing is that I'm hearing is that, and I've seen it on physician like blogs that I kind of fly on the wall. I don't really say a whole lot because I'm kind of still an outlier. But people are talking about how ADHD is everywhere. Everyone has ADHD. Oh, why are we giving patients medication for ADHD? It's all ADHD, da da da, it's too much.
Yeah,
But I'm just like, there's a reason, quote, quote, that we are saying ADHD is
that's right.
everywhere. And that
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a societal issue. Wouldn't you say
that's
so?
right.
What would your
Absolutely, absolutely. One of my client I wrote that post, which is on my website. I said that it's not attachment and hyperactivity disorder. Attention is attachment disorder. So it create
Yes.
a lot of energy, a lot of reaction on my post, and I put it on LinkedIn and also on Instagram. A leader called me and said that it's interesting you mentioned this because my two teenage sons, they both have been diagnosed with ADHD. My mom has ADHD, so that means it's genetic, it's hereditary. And I
Mm-mm.
said, no, That means you were all raised in a very
Instinct.
predictable and an attachment about how you were held, how you were connected,
Mm-hmm.
the quality of you being just held and seen and loved, and the calmness of your mother, and how you and your wife raised your two boys. As I was talking, men have a way of expressing emotions
Mm,
that compared to women. He became very quiet for a long period of time. Then he got his notebook and started to jot down, and he said
mm,
that he said, this is a very difficult discussion for me
mm,
to realize it's not just medication. I
mm,
was thinking about going and getting medication for myself, and I realized that this is some basic foundational behaviors that starts at home. So
yes.
in medicine, we go right away trying to say DNA, heredity. No, it's just patterns that gets reinforced and passed on in families. How do we raise
Mm-hmm.
kids? How do we talk to kids?
Mm-hmm.
That needs attention, needs
Yes,
revising.
exactly. It's parenting style behaviors, the way you deal with
Yes,
conflict,
yes,
stress.
yes,
Do you touch, do you shut down? Attachment
yes.
styles, all those kind of things are so
That's right.
important. And
Yes, yes,
it doesn't, the run in family stuff is more like, yeah, you have similar patterns and behaviors and how you deal with stuff,
yes, yes, yes.
right?
When we started our call, you mentioned, if I go there, that
Yes.
anxiety in professionals.
Mm,
So I want to go on record, and I wanted to share with you. There is a notion. Let's go on LinkedIn. There is there's a category of individuals, the well-liked, respected influencer that anxious high achievers, with the notion of being anxieties actually can be a performance boosters.
mm,
That's bunch of nonsense.
mm,
There
mm,
is a fundamental misunderstanding of the stress and
mm,
anxiety.
mm.
And this is the public becoming almost too sloppy with science.
Yes, I agree.
That so there's nothing good about anxiety. And
Mm-mm.
so the stress, it's the fact of life. Any living
Exactly. There's
organization
all
can go through a stress.
exactly.
Something happened, like a noise, a sound, a sudden
And
rupture.
there's
You
distress and eustress. It's good and bad stress. It's not just
exactly, exactly.
a
A
physiological
stress,
response to a
exactly.
stimuli.
Stress means that
Mm.
something going on is rapid change,
Yes.
unwelcome change, do something. And that's what
Yes.
happened. Adrenaline, cortisol around God goes up for you to go to movement, motion, fight and flight, do something. When it goes to anxiety, it means those patterns have metastasized.
Yes.
That your body, it goes, that's the reason people who are anxious, they have bad gut, IBS, like, they have the higher heart rate, breathing.
Mm.
The part that those influencers miss, that when we're in a state of anxiety, our cognitive processes also are compromised.
Yes.
We lose depth perception, hearing,
Yes.
our intuition goes down.
Mm.
Being
Exactly.
able to, especially if you're in a business sport, to listen or examine an issue and do cause and effect logical analysis is minimized, because your brain says, what is the solution? What is the problem? What is the solution? Act something. You trying to be hyperactive to reduce
Yes.
anxiety. So
Yes.
as a manager, you are a burden to work with because you're
Mm.
impatient. Patient, give it to
Ex-
me. So
exactly. And this whole thing of anxiety being a benefit, I wonder if they're getting it twisted and thinking they're comparing apples to orange. Perhaps
that's
the
right.
high-performing anxious person is more productive than the one who's underperforming. But if you compare a high-performing individual who's not anxious, who's balanced, gut health, brain health, everything happy, homeostasis, and somebody who's running on stress
That's
and
right.
distress, there's a difference in performance.
Absolutely. So
So,
yes, like here's a part. Look at the star athletes.
yes.
Any sport, there's an element of they get energized. There's a
Hmm.
difference between anxious and energized.
Yes.
And it's all the star athletes are calm because they pay attention to, like and even when you go to military, special forces, this is interesting. Special forces are trained in yoga and meditation.
Mm.
In the United States, the elite military units forces is called Navy SEAL Team
Feels.
16.
Hmm.
Yes. They are all master yoga practitioners. And they said,
Hmm.
before we go on a mission, you go into hostile places to basically
Hmm.
take out the bad guys. They come together, they do breathing together, they
Yes.
calming down together. They said, when they do that, you go to an environment, to a neighborhood you don't even know, you can sense danger. You can see
Hmm.
something behind that wall, that door. There's the calmness you have,
Yes.
and then you pay attention to your mission, you pay attention to yourself, you pay attention to your bodies. You only can do that if you're calm and in your
Yes.
body while you're still energized. Somehow, I don't know why, but in a lot of social media, we miss this point. High performing relates to a state of energized calmness.
Yes.
And there's nothing good about anxiety. Anxiety is the state we want to come out of it because it has psychological, performance, and medical impact.
Exactly. Oh, so true. I love that. And more people need to hear that. And we're going to amplify that on social media and LinkedIn because I feel it's our responsibility to,
That's right.
you know,
That's right.
eloquently but professionally dispel these things that are going around
That's right.
because that's
That's
just
right.
that's perpetuating disorganized chaos, like
That's
total
right.
mayhem. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
dysfunction, right?
That's right. Right. It just, yeah.
Normalizing dysfunction.
That's right. That's right. People should know better. I'm just thinking, where are the scientists, like to say that actually we're being sloppy with labels, that anxious achievers, this is the somebody who needs help
Hmm.
versus being celebrated. No, because that
Exactly.
anxious achiever is a hard parent. It's a parent who's not present at home.
Hmm.
And here's a data point for that in 2019, Harvard Business Review, which is a premier management leadership journal in the United States, actually respected
In the
globally,
world, yeah.
published, yeah, published
Yeah.
an article, a survey they did with the CEOs, chief
Hmm.
executive officers,
Hmm.
that up to 50%, 50% of CEOs report being lonely.
Yes.
This is not lonely at the top. This is lonely as a lifestyle. So lonely is a code word for depression. Whenever there's depression, there's anxiety. So these are the
Mhm.
people who got to a certain level. They have all the accolades and the status, and they are feeling lonely. So
Yeah.
that person has health conditions,
Yes.
has family issues, and relational issues. And we don't talk about it. What is the downstream impact of achievement and fulfillment? So one of the topic that I talk in my book, told me that to be a full human being, there are
Yeah.
two vectors of our being,
Mm.
achievement and fulfillment. They
Mm.
are parallel,
Yes.
but they want we don't we have the skills of achievement, be good, push the limit, get good grade, like in terms of how to succeed in whatever you do. Fulfillment, which is a state of emotional being, is about
Yeah.
connection, about relationship, about
Mm.
sense of dignity, sense of relating, and so on. We haven't mastered that. We
Mm.
don't teach that to our children.
No.
And it pays. And by the time we pay for it, by the time we get later in life, that we are wonderful individual that they're feeling empty.
Yes. Yeah. If only they were like working together, like
That's right. That's
versus
that's our
divergent,
opportunity. That's right.
right? We
That's
want to
our
bring it together. Want
opportunity.
to bring it
That's
together.
right.
I love that, honestly. Fulfillment. So for those listening, so how probably wondering, okay, so then how does one focus on the fulfillment? What are some basic
Wonderful,
practices?
wonderful. There
Yeah.
are 7 factors. This is what's the essence of my work over 35 years. And the way it developed, I was doing my clinical, to your the point, I was doing clinical work. I was interning when I was at the Columbia University. And I noticed when patients come to see me as if I listen to them, they were anxious, depressed, obsessive compulsive, and so on. There are two ways of listening to them. One is that you tell me about your symptom because symptoms, they suck. We want to
Mhm.
reduce the level of anxiety, depression.
Yes.
But I noticed if you listen to people, when they told me about their depression and anxiety, there was a story of a human being in pain, that they wanted something. They wanted to minimize the pain. They wanted to feel better. They want a fragment of the boy or girl years ago who didn't get a decent life, a decent home, decent attention, they wanted to go back and fix something. That
Mm-hmm.
was the beginning of my work into the field of trauma, the
Mm-hmm.
developmental trauma. That and I noticed that everybody tells a story. If
Yes.
you listen to that story,
Yes.
that is story, people want to close the loop,
Yes.
finish something that didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Didn't
Exactly.
happen. So that was the essence of my work around emotional rights, that we humans, all of us have this. This is not something parents, societies, teachers, politicians give it to us. We all have it. We are wired to experience seven core emotions in our lives. And those are the essence of fulfillment. And I'm going to share them as how they go. And it's not
Yes.
just the list; they all mush together to our
Of
lives.
course.
The very first experience is sense of connection when we are born. Actually
Mm.
starts in the womb.
In the room. Yep.
This is the quality. Most of them, you're a parent, I'm a parent, is the quality of the mother holding the child, and the
Mm.
child feels a sense of world here. And what it is, there is a mirroring function going back and forth. So the child is separated from the womb.
Mm-hmm.
In the world, the child is trying to develop a sense of identity.
Yes.
And the neurons and even at the sensory level of skin is being formed.
Yes.
So the calmness of mother, the tone of voice, the
Mm.
lullabies, and the baby's movement being reciprocated, responded to by the mother, the child get a sense, I'm existing here in the
Yes.
arm of this loving person,
Yes.
and I'm safe. I
Yes.
can take as long as I want. I can fall asleep and wake up, and that loving being is still is over there. What I just shared with you is basically for storybooks and poetry. It doesn't happen like that.
Yes.
Parents are busy.
Yes.
Parents are distracted with their own life. Other kids, there's poverty, there's stress,
Mm-hmm.
spouses. So
Yes.
children get part of the fragment of that connections when they're
Mm.
born and in the days and weeks and months after that. But they start to get a sense life is unpredictable.
Yes.
Mom is here, or the primary caregiver is here, is not. Sometimes they are paying attention, sometimes they totally miss it. And that's the beginning of ADHD. A brain developed that this looking for that connection. That's
Yes. It's everywhere. Like those neurons are firing everywhere. It's not a clear path. It's like the pathways are just going ding, 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 ding.
exactly. It's about having a sense of that's the whole that I would call the need of I belong. That you
Mm.
to somewhere, and then as you go to your school, primary school, to high school, and so on, a sense that I'm connected, that they have a sense of safe attachment
Mm.
versus anxious attachment, disorganized attachment. So many individual grown-ups, they grow up and they have difficult relationships
Yes.
because they are not in relationship. They are looking for confirmation. Can you
Mm.
love me no matter what? We do that with our parents. You don't
Mm-hmm.
do that with your partner. So it's a need of I belong. The next one that happens is I am boundless. This is the power of body as part of our development. What in the Western world, and I think actually at this point it's global,
Yeah.
from the time the child reaches about 1 month, we instruct them, sit there, use your words, be polite, don't be fidgety, and basically express what your needs and wants are. There's no such thing as mind and body. It's basically one being. So we teach
Mm.
children become talking heads. What happens, we stop feeling our bodies. What we know from science, emotions are not, we have labels for emotions, but emotions are felt. How
Yes.
our heart feels, how our gut feels, the twitching we have, the pain we have, sensations we have. Those are all feelings related to feelings. So I'm boundless is about I have body integrity, whole
Mm.
integrity.
Yes.
And then is part of that, the part of development is that it's seen instead of asking how are you feeling, asking itself, what are you sensing? What's coming up for you? I see you being fidgety. What does it mean? I see you being very, your breathing is very shallow. What
Mm.
does it mean? What are you sensing? It's about bringing whole body integrity. The reason this matters, a lot of times we go to doctors, we talk about pain. My shoulder hurts, my back hurts, my knee hurts. These are all indication of emotions suppressed.
Yes.
We don't
Yes.
even understand our body. We go to doctor for our gut, for our feet, for our head, for our throat. But emotional, body sensations are emotions. We haven't developed a language for that. So it's about bringing being whole person integrity. The next need is that I am complete.
Yes.
That's about growing up with minimal shame and blame and sense of there's something happened to us. Many individuals grow up with the past being very hard for them,
Mm.
being hurt emotionally, physically, they've been this sense of abandonment, being ridiculed. So there's sense that I'm broken. There's something about me. Depression, you used the term, told me before, disconnection.
Yes.
It's about disconnected to me. You talked about
Mm-hmm.
immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
Immigrants carry extra burden of part of their past, suddenly no longer.
Yep.
That there's a part of us that I'm whole. My life story is a whole being. And when I look back, brings me a sense of gratefulness, gravitas, and wholeness. Many people, and that was my story too, don't have that. The next need is a sense of honoring. It's called I matter.
Mm.
We have children to know they they are like a full citizen of the family. Their voice, their needs, their expressions matter. Instead of saying, no, 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 you cannot have that, or just go to your room and put your phone down.
Yes.
They're expressing their emotions certain ways. They
Yes.
require attention,
Yes.
compassion,
Yes.
conversation
Yes.
as a way for them to own their space. They don't have the language, they don't have the mental capacity, but they fully deserve to be honored.
Yes.
Those individuals who are honored, they grow up to becoming people who honor others in their society. They're better
Mm.
citizens.
Mm.
Versus right now, in many societies, we create turf who's like me, who's not like me. We are not respect differences. We see only people who are like me. This is about mattering. The next need is what I call I make. This is about whatever you do in life, any profession, any activity, any art is the thing you want to do. We know from Gallup Research, which is the organization that they do annual survey of
Yeah.
major social trends, year after year, this hasn't changed. Up to two-thirds of Americans are feeling disengaged at work.
Yes.
We go to work and stay there most of the time to pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
It's important we have house, mortgage, family, so on. But we dream of another work, of doing something different. That literally creates depression, creates anxiety, that creates that I'm but I don't want to be here. I get
Mm-hmm.
disconnected, to use your
Mm-hmm.
term. This is about so the question I ask my clients, the thing you're doing, if you were not driven by fear and responsibility, would you be doing this? That question is startling. That have you given your power away, the power
Yeah.
of choice, power of you being yourself?
Yes.
The next need is the need of I am.
Mm-hmm.
Every person, including your children, they have a voice, they have a conviction, they have an opinion. They need to be heard. They need to express their point, and they deserve for you to listen and heard and respond to. What I learned is the way I discovered this almost 20 years ago. I saw people as a would come to me, especially women. When they talk, there was a raspiness as if they were throat going, ah, and as if their voice was held back.
Yes.
A monotone voice, a voice that would lose its color and its energy. And they would talk about tightness around their jaw, their shoulder, even thyroid. What happens to our society teaches people how to speak properly, how to speak in the world of work, in the boardroom, and everything that teaches there's a mannerism by which you speak, that you take your uniqueness, your differences, your
Mm.
edge, your quirkiness out, trying to fit in. A lot of people are not in the business of fitting in. You need to be you. In performing art, when you go audition for an role, they say, you be your uniqueness, your
Mm,
flaring.
yes.
This is about finding your voice. So the exercise that I do as a therapist, I played Katy Perry's song Roar.
Sure.
And I tell them, give me your roar.
Mm-hmm.
And when people try to do that, realize something on the throat is holding them back.
Mm-hmm.
How do you show me your roar and let your vocal cords show your energy? This is about finding your voice, and that's your conviction. Losing your voice is a painful experience for many
Yes.
people. The final one is what I call I soar. This is not purpose that everybody is on this earth on for a reason. You matter, your space, what you do here matter. And Maya Angelou has a beautiful statement, which is behind me on the wall. There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you.
Yeah.
An untold story. Everybody has a story. We get our story by the time late 20, we go to 30 and beyond. Finding your story is liberating, is depression crasher. That find your story and step into that, and you will be okay. So this needs all of them together creates the narrative of fulfillment that
Mm.
you be your many of us don't know this. This is right in we are wired for this. Once you know that, you claim you. You
Yes.
claim you and you step with a strength, with conviction and vulnerability and humbleness.
Exactly. And to put it all together, like depression, quote unquote, anxiety, ADHD
Yeah,
is as a result of that disconnect with aligning
that's
one's true
exact that
self,
well said.
right?
Exactly. That's what it
That's what.
fix that instead of trying
Mhm,
to medicate your. So in other words, the so-called mental illness
mhm.
is not a cause. Those are adaptive responses to
Yes.
unfulfillment. Go
Yes.
fulfill yourself. And literally people will see depression, anxiety, all of that they
Yes. Yeah, mental illness is not the diagnosis, it's a symptom. That's what
exactly.
really,
That's
but
exactly.
but in the medical
We,
community, we're using it as that's the diagnosis, but we don't
we
go,
got it backwards. And that's
yeah,
the reason that people say that I've been in therapy almost three
yeah.
years for
Oh,
depression. And
I've seen lifelong therapists, people in lifelong therapy, and there's no change because,
yeah, that's travesty that,
Mhm.
and then people waiting for hope and healing and this
Mm.
shield, exactly.
But it doesn't have to be there. Like honestly, I feel like I this these could be amplified because the more people realize this, if you're connect with the right therapist, the right whoever it
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
professional,
yeah.
you can actually see results. Like I know when patients for coaching clients come my way and they're like, wow, what you've done for me in like one or two sessions is more
That's
than
right.
they've had for 10 years. And that's what I'm saying. Therapy doesn't have to be quote unquote so expensive.
That's
If
right. That's right.
especially if you're getting the meat, the from the beginning. If you're just, going in circles, of course it's gonna be long, drawn out, and protracted.
That's
But
right.
like,
Tell me what you just mentioned. Few session can give so much results
yes,
of healing because you're
yes,
going about building the conditions for healing versus trying
yes.
to symptoms managing and reduction of symptom. Once you do that,
Exactly.
actually, I tell people I don't believe in long-term therapy,
No.
open-ended. In five
Mm-mm.
sessions, and you will get a major lift from the first session. That's the
Exactly.
work. People need to know this. There's a better way and more um, reliable way for healing. The healing is about, actually, here's the healing has a Latin root. It means to be made whole.
Mm.
So the journey of healing is coming back to yourself, which for a number of reasons got fragmented and
Yes.
you didn't get experiences. So once the true healing shows you where you came from and what you missed, what happened or what didn't happen for you. Once you know that the journey of healing is about restoration.
Yeah, so true. And when you were saying that, what came to mind is with like babies, you don't see a depressed baby, quote unquote,
That's right.
a depressed toddler because they're still of the age where they're, cute and chubby and people think it's okay to hug them and lift them and listen to them and
Yeah,
give them
yeah, yeah,
advice. But once they
yeah,
start
yeah,
getting a little older, a
yeah. That's
disconnect
right. That's
often
right.
happens. And it's
That's
sooner
right.
for boys than it is for girls. And I
That's right.
and coincidentally, quote unquote, ADHD diagnosis is now before what's it, age 12 or 6, they change it. The point is, it's
That's right.
it's that disconnect.
That's right. Exactly. Like, the case in point, I have a current client, they reached out to me for their daughter who shows a sign of depression in the under blanket, doesn't want to go to school, sign of anxiety, very like fidgety, and her food doesn't eat well. When I talk to parents, and I did in those 7 dimensions that emotional rights, there's an instrument that I have, and people can see it when they go on my website. You can do independently a profile of mom, that how she rates on those 7 dimensions from low to high,
Hmm.
and dad, and put them side by side. It showed that mom and dad, they were low on number of those emotions.
Yeah.
So that creates a family that mom and dad, they have unfulfillment. So when they were with their daughter, they talked about there's not much connection, warm and fuzzy, paying
Mm-hmm.
attention in the
Hmm.
house, versus it's all about you need to go to school, you need to do your
Education, your
homework.
books. Hmm.
Exactly,
Great.
exactly. And versus, are you spending time together? Are you having conversation?
Mm-hmm.
What the child was showing was a family that felt cold, family that
Yes.
was very action, responsibility, do your work.
Yes.
That needs fixing. I told them that don't focus on your child right away. It's important, but get the foundation of health. Quickly do that, and then bring the child, develop her. But there's a foundation missing.
Yes, that's so true. And there will be pushback from some parents, and I've met those parents where it's like,
Yes,
oh no, we raised them, we brought them here, we fed them, we did sacrifice for them. Why
yeah,
is she depressed? Why is he depressed? Well, it's not about those tangibles, those
yeah,
you put it
yeah,
before their
yeah.
head. You clothe them. Like that's like basic expectations when you have a child. That's nothing extra. That's
Exactly. And what you mentioned, they say why they're there, they see it as you're depressed, you're spoiled, ungrateful.
yes.
Snap to shape. Exactly.
Yes, yes. They're forgetting the bigger picture. The birthright is like what you said. They missed the whole
That's right.
point.
That's
They missed
right.
the point.
That's
And if they
right. That's
weren't
right.
modeled, their chances are they weren't. It's like a generational behavior where they feel disconnected. That's just the norm. And then their
That's right.
child, who's now in a maybe different environment, is like, no, this is not working.
That's
No,
right. That's right.
no.
The your lesson are probably to say, do I go for this? So can I, if I say there are 3 things essential for if you want to do anything, the very first step to improve your condition, your emotional experiences, the very first step is the step of noticing.
Mm,
Noticing your entire being, noticing how
yeah,
you feel, your body, your stomach, your shoulder, your relationship. Noticing it basically means that what is going on with me? Why is this
yes.
happening? When do I get energized? When do I get flat? When do you get fear come up? The first step is noticing. No judgment, important. No judge, just noticing.
Mm,
The next one, the journey of healing, getting better, is a contact sport.
mm,
Nobody gets better by themselves.
yes.
There's a fallacy in the Western world. You go to a bookstore, they have picture of a man and woman that they said, I made my million. Usually there's somebody on top of a building or
Mm-hmm.
like a Superman. I want to be
Yeah.
Superwoman, of a lone wolf creating success. That is nonsense. People who achieve greatness almost go to a sports people, Michael
Mhm.
Jordan,
Mhm. I'm
Taylor
ready.
Swift, Tom Brady. Tom Brady actually grew up in my neighborhood around here, and everybody talks about what a loving family that was. Mom and
Mm,
dad and brothers, everybody was behind him. So the journey to heal, you need to create connections around you. People
mm.
who could be mom and dad, could be coworkers, could be
Yes.
your partner, somebody who believes in you and
Yeah.
says, I got your back. Exactly, do that. And then the third one is that we all have anxiety, depression, ADHD, stomach the problem, or so on. What they are telling you, those difficulties, they're saying that wake up,
Yeah.
that there's a better you waiting.
Yeah.
That is, and that so notice, reach your connection, and use your unease or unhappiness as the indication that you have work to do, my friend. You can numb it, you can drug it, you can ignore it. Your pain is a knock at the door, is going to get louder because that signal is from you to you. It's
Yeah.
time to do some hard work, my friend.
Yes, it is time to do some hard work. Wow. I honestly, I enjoy our conversations, like just the way we go from topic to topic, but it's all
Yeah.
connected. It's so
Yeah.
connected. And that's why I we're here the second time. And honestly, I think there'll be a third different format. We'll talk
I
more
would love
later.
it. It'll be
Okay.
honor. Thank you. Thank you,
I
Tomi.
think we need to do a live where we're actually
Yes,
getting families tuned in,
that's good. So
question
yeah,
and answer. Yeah.
so this is I love that what you mentioned. So I've come to realize this that family, the segment of our population, they feel unsupported.
Yes.
They
They,
have their own questions, they have their
yes.
own the uniqueness, and they don't know who to go to get
Yes.
science-based response
Yeah.
that don't clump the families with others. They have their own questions. So create an
Yeah.
environment for families, mom and dad, just come together, get their raise a question, and your question answered with people who actually want to help you heal, find a better way.
Yeah, definitely. My area in medicine is family practice, family medicine, and truly it's about family. And I get the
That's right.
privilege of seeing these babies before they're born, when they're born, young couples who are thinking of having a
Yeah, yeah.
family and growing and seeing the generations. It's so beautiful, and they need this conversation
They
because
do. Absolutely.
they're not getting
Absolutely.
it. And
They're not getting it. And the they don't know where to go to.
they don't because
They don't know where to go to.
there's so much, sorry to say, there's so much garbage out there.
Absolutely. And then, yeah, because the family, them, they want that's it, that you understand me.
Yes.
You understand parenting is
Yes.
hard work,
Oh,
but
yes.
also it's like one of the things that I talk about with this couple, about about their old daughter. That daughter was, like acting, very anxious,
Mm-hmm.
especially girls. And I shared with them, this is what's going on. Because your daughter is hyperacting doesn't mean you need to hyperact.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a part of science that around the age 12 to 14, brain of teenagers, especially in girls, develop in a different ways. That the
Mm-hmm.
lower part of the brain, which is our reactive, emotional, fight or flight, develop, and then cognitive part comes about 2 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So people, this smallest thing, they react. They become
Mm-hmm.
so-called emotional. Your
Yep.
daughter is not overreacting. She's just being going through her evolutionary process. So what she needs, mom and dad who are even keel, they don't
Um,
overreact. They don't give
yeah.
you time out to
Yeah.
know that she's going through her evolution. All she wants a comfortable, consistent, loving base for her to find her feet.
Yeah.
So they didn't know that. So parents need to know there's a how do you use the science and find your way of home
Mm-hmm.
versus just you get anxious, start to snap, and she's misbehaving. She needs a therapist. No, she needs a calm parents. The question is, how do you find calmness when you get triggered? That's the work. Show them
Mm-hmm.
calmness, practice it, learn it. So your daughter develops in a predictable, healthy way so she can become a mother herself,
Yeah.
knowing how to do that later on. Parents need conversation like this.
They
Bring
need
the science
conversation.
practical.
Yeah, practical. I think that's what we're gonna do. Not putting
Yeah,
you on the
I
spot.
will love it.
All right. All right, listeners, thank you so much again for sharing your most precious resource. Dr. Ardeshir, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll have your contact details below,
Yeah.
and I'm sure we will connect very soon. Till next time, this is your host, Dr. Tomi Mitchell from the Mental Health and Wellness Show.